Welcome back to Metropole TV, the first 24-hour news business channel here in Kenya and East Africa. This is The Smart Investor. My name is Ali Khan Satchu, and we've got a great guest with us in the studio. This is Wambui Gaitha, the founder and CEO of Regal Africa Financial Services, and I'll fill you in on Anne's background momentarily. Ex-Bank of America, came back to Kenya. How many years ago did you come back, Anne?
I came back 7 years ago.
7 years, 2012. Karibu, welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, I went through your rather grand report that you've put out, and first of all, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about your thinking, because you're looking at the financial markets as an independent advisor. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Your focus, I saw from there, was on the money markets. There was a big focus on that. What struck me, Anne, was there was quite a differential between different money market products. Some were 11, I saw some were at 6 or 7. Just tell me a little bit about that. Is that a credit play? Is that people duration play? How is there such a big difference in what people are delivering?
So what differentiates one licensed fund manager from another is basically their negotiation skills, the investment committee. So as you mentioned, I used to work for Bank of America, but locally I worked for Mana Capital. I was running the company there. And so what we did as fund managers, basically were able to go ahead and invest in short-term securities. So I could place my money, for example, in a tier 3 bank and get maybe 14%, versus I place it in a tier 1 bank and get 7%. So it's all about being strategic. Where do you place the client's money so that you can get a higher return? So when you see some fund managers having lower returns, it's because they are doing
more conservative.
Yes, they're more conservative.
But also we've had some credit problems, haven't we, in the credit markets? We've had a few bonds or short-term instruments which then defaulted, haven't we? I mean, the Imperial Bank was one. Chase, another. There was, I can't remember, a bond, a number of bonds as well. Sanlam took $1 billion shilling impairment.
With Nakuma, there've been a lot of things around commercial papers. So
you've got to be pretty on top of that game, right?
Yes.
If you're gonna go for extra yield, you better understand. Do you think we understand the credit side as customers and as fund managers?
From individual customers, no. And that's why you want a credible fund manager who basically, based on their track record, will be able to show that they've been consistent with their return. As you rightfully put, there are people who were investing in Nakumat when they were getting very high yields.
I remember being at a dinner party, and everybody around me over that dinner party said to me, Ali Khan, what do you think of Nakumat? And my wife was kicking me, saying, don't say anything, let's find out what they're... And everyone had invested at 24%. And I said to them all, I said, when you're getting 24%, there's normally a problem, because for somebody having to pay that much... So that comes back to my question, right? I mean, do we understand the risk we're getting into at times?
I think people understand the risk, but also people are really moved by good returns. And a good fund manager knows how to balance that. So, for example, when I was in the investment committee, we would look at 24% and say that's very high. So do we put just a little bit of the fund in that?
Yes.
Or what do we do? Because again, what you're doing as a fund manager, and that's why we encourage people to go and work with fund managers, the fund manager understands the market. So their goal is to actually understand the risk and not put all of it. Because if at 24% it was really high, I mean, and people needed to be looking at the books of Nakumat and saying, there's something wrong here.
Were we able to get to
right?
Look at them?
Exactly. Yeah. And the reason they're coming for a commercial paper is probably because they can't go to the banks, which is also the wrong thing. Internationally, what happens, businesses that go and get a commercial paper are really graded, right? So we know that these businesses are good for
We're not grading commercial paper?
No, not really. There are very few players who actually put
going for yes.
So
I saw there's a South African ratings agency which seems to do a bit of ratings, but that's interesting. So you're flying a little blind if you're a novice investor.
Yes.
You're talking about fund managers. So are you like a fund of funds? Or how would you describe yourself? Are you advising people, I think this is a good place to go? or you're just putting the data in front of them? Are you holding their hand, or how would you describe your relationship with people?
Okay. Our current relationship with our clients is basically advisory,
Yes.
right? So clients come to us and they say, I have this amount of money. I have 10 million, I have 100 million, I have 1,000, whatever amount of money that they have. And from then we understand their risk tolerance, we understand how much money they want to invest, we understand what their goals are. And from there, independently, based on where they are, we're able to advise them and say, look, currently we work with 7 licensed fund managers, and
Those are the ones that that were in your report?
No,
No.
we actually do the report for all fund managers.
Okay.
And then what we do is we highlight the top 5.
Okay.
Right. And the reason we work with our 7 is because consistently since 2015, when we started doing the report and the analysis, they've been the top people.
Yes.
So if you don't come the top 5 of our research analysis, we are not recommending your product to our clients. Exactly. So what you do is you come in Alican and you say, I have this amount of money,
Yes.
I want to invest, and we say, okay, we think the best investment vehicle for you right now is the money market. Then we let you know these are the top 3. And then, of course, there are returns, there's customer service, there's track record, there's due diligence around management, and from there is when we guide our clients and say, this is the best product, and then we facilitate. So what we're trying to do at Regal Africa is basically be the go-to distribution channel for the best investment products in the
Right.
marketplace. Yes.
Okay.
So that's our value proposition.
That's a great tagline as
Yes.
well. You were also, and I'll come because you've got some very interesting distribution channels. Equities, you were also talking interestingly, Longhorn, which is a small stock at the stock exchange, best performing stock this year. Are you also doing the same thing you're doing with the money markets on the equities and on the balanced funds that I saw that you were measuring?
Okay. So when we first started our analysis, we actually decided to focus on the unit trust market because nobody was doing analysis in the unit trust market. And so we said this is a place that we want to play in because we realized for most of investors, they've never invested outside plots, right? So we recommend them to go to manage money, to licensed fund managers. But right now, currently what we're doing with our East Gold product, which is I was mentioned to use our fintech product, we're actually telling investors to say, look, in order for you to make good investment decisions, you actually have to use data to make decisions. It's not about emotions. I'm not going to buy into Safaricom because I like Safaricom.
Yes.
I'm buying Safaricom because I see the track record. I see that.
Are we emotional investors?
Or
I
I believe most people are emotional investors or they are not informed, right? There's something we study in finance, behavioral finance.
Yes,
right?
that's what I was coming to.
Yes.
Because I tend to find we like to move together.
Exactly, groupthink. Everybody.
So the quail suddenly took off and then everyone gets stuck over there.
And that's the problem that I see in the market. So we're trying to educate people and say, don't make a decision because your father, your cousin, someone told you this is the best investment. Make a decision based on the data. The numbers don't lie. So we are telling people that's what you need to do. And because, unfortunately, in this Kenyan market or East African market which we play, there's not a place that you can actually go and get a lot of this data, right? A lot has been done in the stock market and you can go back a couple of years. So back to what you were asking earlier, with the stock market, we analyze that. We actually are able to share, like we saw Longhorn did 50% the last year, which is really, really good.
Very good.
And we're trying to tell people, okay, this is what they did in the past. Now we also have to look at what's going on in the future. So what we're trying to do with East Gold, basically our investment analysts are going to go in and be able to be sharing track record for these different equity players, when we put it that way, and be able to advise people and say, look, in the next 3-6 months, we see this is what's going to happen. We recommend a buy or sell. So so we're working on that. So that's the next step.
Now let me come to your various distribution channels, because I was reading your report and you spoke about fintech being something that was exciting you. You spoke about East Gold and Grow PESA 100.
Yes.
Tell us about those 3 channels and what you're really trying to do with them. Let's start with fintech. This is what you want to get to the mass market, do you?
Correct. So currently at Regal Africa, we were really offering a very bespoke service. So it's one-on-one, right? So Alikan, you come to us, you tell us exactly what you want. We sit down with you as a team, we understand where you are, where you want to go, and we offer the recommendation. Now that takes time, energy, resources, so of course we do charge for that. But when we realized that there was, if you want to scale something, right? It's very hard to scale it when it's a one-on-one, high-touch, bespoke service. You can't do that. Yeah. So for us, we realized a lot of the Wanjiko is missing out on investment opportunities because one, she's not informed, she's not educated, and there's no one really facilitating it in the right way. So that's why we set up now ISCOL. Now ISCOL is basically this fintech platform that we've established where we inform our clients, so digital, so like the magazine, the Regal Report, we're coming up with the ISCOL magazine, we're going to be on YouTube, so we're going to be sharing this information and informing investors, this is what you need to look at. Then we do go into education. So we just partnered up with a South African company
Financial literacy.
Financial literacy. So we're saying instead of you going somewhere and doing an 11-week course, we actually have an ISGold online academy where you actually go online and you take personal finance courses and business courses for SMEs. It's already out. We're fine-tuning it. It should be out in the next couple of weeks.
So you're moving into edutech.
Edutech, exactly. So the whole fintech is around financial technology, of course. But we realize in order for us to facilitate this uptake of investment opportunities, we have to inform people and educate them. Now with the fintech position is more around us creating what we call ISGold Financial Marketplace. With this, we're linking investors to investment opportunities. We are linking SMEs to funders. It is a platform whereby clients will be able to come in and say, look, I have this amount of money. We ask them the usual information. We usually ask the questions. And from there, we recommend them all online. And once that is done, then we facilitate it. So what we're trying to say is we're going to use technology in the right way to inform, facilitate, and educate our clients.
Wow.
Yes. So it's a big project. We're quite interested about ISGold. Yes. In fact, next week I'll be in Amsterdam for the Money 2020 event, which is really a big fintech event, and I'm actually going to be there, really talking about ISGold and trying to find the right partners who see the vision that we're trying to do.
But are you already? Is ISGold live yet, or?
ISGold is piloted.
Yes.
Right. So right now we do everything, but through email, through questionnaires. Now we're trying to actually make it into an actual platform. So it's been piloted. So. And the uptake is good, but it could be better. We just need to
disseminate.
Yeah, exactly.
What is Grow Pesa 100? It seemed like a micro savings product, or am I right?
Yes. Yeah. It definitely is. It's actually a micro investing or a microfinance product. So I'm a numbers girl. So everything I do is about numbers. So as I mentioned, when we started out with Regal and we're helping our investors, it's always about, okay, if I'm to help someone who, for example, has 100 million Kenya shillings to invest, and I make a percentage of that, say 1%, I make a whole lot more money than if someone brought me 10,000. Okay? So that's how the financial service market works. Now we realized, you know what? What if we actually went to Wanjiko, right? So let's tell people this. In Kenya, we're about 40 million Kenyans, right? Right?
Some people think we're 46.
Right. Over 18 or over 20 million. I know in Safaricom they have over 30 million people subscribers. I was saying, if we could get 100 shillings a day from everyone over 18, right? 100 shillings a day, 30 days.
You've really done your maths.
Yes.
Yes.
30 days means 3,000 shillings every month from an individual. If we got 10,000 strong Kenyans who say, you know what, I can invest 100 shillings. That is 30 billion Kenya shillings every month. The Kenyan government just went to China the other day and they came back with 67 million Kenya shillings.
Yes.
And they spent 150 million to go for that trip.
So you're going...
And I'm saying you can get 60 million in 2 months just by a Kenyan investing 100 shillings every day.
Wow. Now,
where does that money go? When a client invests 100 shillings every day, which is 3,000 every month, it goes into the money market. Now, what happens with the money market? The money is invested in the banks, where the banks can now lend to SMEs. The money goes to commercial, to businesses through commercial papers, who are again able to grow their business. The money goes into treasury bills, so the government has money, doesn't have to go international to collect. So basically, Kenyans coming together through
You're
this
talking domestic capital mobilization.
Exactly.
And you think that the fintech is going to give you the route to the mass market.
Exactly.
And that if you collect the nickels and dimes, it's going to be a huge amount you're collecting, which is the same philosophy as Emma Kiba maybe as well.
Yes, it is. But the challenge that we've seen what has happened in the market when you tell people, okay, for example, Emma Kiba, and you invest 3,000 shillings. They look at it and they see the return in 1 year and they're like, that's not a lot of money. But that's because they do it one time. But if you're doing it daily,
yes,
100 bob every day
is accumulating.
It accumulates to 36,000 a year, which plus returns almost close to 40,000. Now you're talking to people. Now that's why they want to invest. But if you just tell them only 3,000 and they come back and they get a couple of hundreds of shillings, there's no incentive.
Yes.
There's no incentive. And what I've realized in this market is everyone is focused on lending.
They are.
Everyone is focused on lending.
Not saving.
Not saving. We have to have a savings culture in this country.
Yes.
Because if you have a savings culture, then now you have an investment culture. And instead of us going internationally to get this money, we can mobilize
You're all about making ourselves lift up.
Exactly.
Let me go back to that report, because it was quite interesting. You were talking, philosophically, you were saying you believe in trade and not aid. I like that, obviously.
Yes.
And then you were also mentioning real estate and plots. What's your perspective on the real estate market right now? Because it seems to me there's a lot of nervousness, maybe. What would you say? Is the plot investment a sensible investment for Kenyans today?
I don't think so. No. In fact, the prior report than this quarter, we actually said going beyond plots and circles.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
I actually studied finance, real estate, and law. So when I talk about real estate, it's from a place of knowledge, because I've studied real estate.
Yes.
I understand real estate. I look at the trends. The era of plots, I'm sorry, is coming to an end. And the reason this is happening is because the land price is overvalued.
Yes.
We've subdivided.
Okay.
They're overvalued. We've subdivided ourselves to death, as I always put it. We've put all our money on the ground and there's nothing going on, right? So people always come to us, investors, and say, look, I have 20 plots.
Yes.
And I don't know what to do.
What do you say to them?
Well, before we used to tell them to liquidate them, but nobody's buying.
Yes,
so
it's that bad.
Yes, so nobody's buying. They're not able to liquidate it. They don't have money to develop them. So really, their money is on the ground.
It's a dead asset.
Yes. So now what we think, or I think, based on our analysis, is soon you will start seeing prices going down.
Yes.
Because if
you don't think we've had the price correction yet? Everyone's holding in there and thinking, oh, it's going to pick up. Is that what you're saying?
Okay. There are certain pockets. Real estate is all about location. So I'm generalizing here. But if you look at where a lot of the subdivision has been done and plots, those markets are gone. Now, unless we start finding our new markets which are beyond.
Yes.
And I keep telling people, when you buy plots in the middle of nowhere, no infrastructure, really, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're not improving your assets, you know, your net worth is not going up, or if it's going up, it's only paper.
Yeah.
There's no productivity on it. Really, there's nothing. It's good on paper, but I don't think it's doing much. So we are trying to, and that's the whole essence around Regal, beyond plots.
Yes.
So beyond plots, what other alternative investments are there? And that is what we advise our clients to take out.
So you're trying to give people a full menu and some advice,
Exactly.
and then you're also saying to people, even if it's 100 bob, I'm going to find you a solution for you.
Correct.
So that's very empowering, I think.
Thank you.
Let me ask you another question. I was also reading, you're talking about Regal law. You seem to you know, it reminds me of a family office. You know, I'm sure you've come across them in America, where literally you would have, you know, you'd have all these resources available to you. If you had insufficient money, you'd have a lawyer, you'd have an accountant. Is that the kind of thinking that's informing you?
Exactly. So I specialize in investments. So we offer transaction advisory for businesses and wealth advisory for the wealthy.
Yes.
High net worth. And the ultra high net worth is where now the family office comes in. And so that is the space where we're saying, look, you have a lot of money. You want it to be moved to the next generation in an effective way, right?
Which seems to be a big problem.
It is a big problem.
I watch these things and it's like a new family turns up and it's chaos, and every time you open the paper, why is that from a behavioral point of view? What's happening there? We don't want to talk about death as the patriarch. Is that what's happening?
It's Kenyan culture. Because it doesn't happen in Nigeria, it doesn't happen in South Africa, which are African countries. They are able to do estate planning.
Yes.
Very well. The wealthy.
Yeah.
But in Kenya, we don't want to talk about what's going to happen when I pass away. We don't want to tell our family what we have because we don't
We're
know
hiding
about
it
the
from
wife.
our own family.
We're hiding it from the wife. We're hiding it from our children.
Wow.
There's this part of there's lack of communication in the family. And the reason people do that is because people, historically it's been told that if, for example, your wife knows what you have, then things will happen. Or if your children know what you have, they're not going to work hard. So what actually I've had people tell me is like, when I'm gone, they'll deal with it. And that's why we consistently see fights happening with families that have lost the patriarch.
It seems to be like the trend.
It was not planned. And even if it's planned and there are trusts involved, because that's what we do.
You're doing trust estate planning?
Yes, we help them. We work with lawyers and we talk about how do you structure your wealth? How do you leave a legacy? The challenge is even the beneficiaries don't understand how trust works. So immediately they see that somebody else is going to manage the wealth and not them, and it's not being subdivided as usual, then they go to court and say, look, we want to sue. So again, there's a lack of information again, so we do a lot of education, and it's our culture. So we're trying to rectify that. So for clients who are very wealthy, who are saying, look, I have this kind of business, my children don't want to take over it, I have this real estate, they're out of the country, what do I do? We talk to them about how do we manage that. So, yeah.
Well, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you, Anne, today, and thanks for making the time, and it's been such an interesting perspective that you're sharing. Really appreciate you coming in, and we look forward to speaking to you again. And anytime you've got some research, we'd be grateful to have a look at it and talk to you about it.
Okay, thank you. We usually have it every quarter, so I'll be sure to share with you.
Please.
All right.
It was a pleasure.
Pleasure too.
Thank you. That was Anne Wambui Gaitha with Regal Africa Financial Services, and what a 360 perspective she's developed. Really, really interesting. This was Metropole TV. This was The Smart Investor. My name was Ali Khan Sachu. And with this, we wish you a tremendous weekend and see you back here on Monday.